Hey everybody, it's your girl Sherry. Welcome back to another episode of Alleged Actually Podcast. Today is Wednesday, so you know that means we're going to get into some 90-day Fiance the other way. Want to greet my guest co-host Big Nige. What's up, Big Nige?
I'm doing good. I'm doing well. Got my deductible back from a car accident that happened a couple months ago. Excited about that. That grueling process was way more taxing than I initially thought, but they said it could have taken longer. And I'm just glad and blessed to receive that money back after all that trouble.
I know that's right, honey. Nothing like getting your coin back. I feel you there. All right, guys. Well, we had a really good episode that aired on Monday that we're going to get into. But before we do that, just check out this cool intro. Okay, guys. So, like I said, we're going to be talking about 90-day Fiance the other way. Anybody that's new over here today, real quick, we do reality recaps over here and we do pop culture segments as well as riveting interviews. If you haven't yet, I don't know what you're waiting on, just go ahead and subscribe. If you would, please give us the thumbs up and like the video and give us some feedback. So pop off in the comments and share with the masses. So Big Notch. Before we get into 90 Day, real quick, let me just say this, guys. I always give Big Nige a minute to shout out his channel, which is the Goatcast Podcast YouTube. Y'all, they were going crazy last night. And listen, I don't consider myself an NBA heavyweight as far as all the knowledge, all the things. The two players that they were discussing, I'm pretty familiar with. But let me just say, if you haven't checked them out, yet now is the time to do it. That live went crazy. So y'all need to hop on over to Goatcast Podcast YouTube and y'all need to check that out. It went crazy. Big Nige, I'm gonna let you give a little quick what was going through your mind real quick, and then we're gonna get into 90 Day.
Yeah, so that episode was supposed to be on the chill side. You know, we had a special guest and sports and fitness rants for anybody in the basketball space. You know, he's kind of making a name for himself. You know, very loud, very factual, and very controversial. So we invited him on the show. We also had another person, sports talk only. He's a big LeBron guy, just like myself. So we really go in there just to kind of speak about the different eras. Weren't trying to get into a big, highly touted GOAT debate, but eventually some more stuff happened later along the episode, and an explosion erupted with between Jordan and LeBron. So if you need something to wake you up in the morning, I strongly encourage you to go check out that last live. The numbers are going crazy. You know, the comment section is buzzing. It was a very great video. And if you need a jolt in the morning, I'm telling you that video is going to be really good for you.
I'm gonna say I concur. Like I said, guys, I don't consider myself to be the biggest NBA guru. I love the sport, but I love the NBA and WNBA. But let me just tell you, that live was truly live. So y'all need to check that out. All right, now we're going to get down to business. So, guys, 90 Day Fiance the other way. We are now halfway officially through the season. We are at episode 11. And all the couples now are pretty much situated. And we are now getting into the cusp of just how they are meshing as couples. And now we're going to really start pondering on what the future really is going to hold for these couples, because now we know everybody is where they're going to be. Everyone is situated. They've had some time together. So now we're just really looking at the issues and watching it unfold right before our eyes. So we're going to kick off the episode with, we're going to talk about Joanne and Sean. They remain a hot topic for this season, and that is still the case. So as you guys know, Joanne, her best friend, and her boys have now officially arrived in Ireland. They are there. They have stayed the night, and they are greeted by Sean and his adorable little daughter, Bella. And so now they are all at the house, and a house actually that he rented so that there would be enough space for everybody. And so now everyone is trying to mesh together. I will say, and Nigel, I'm going to give you your time, of course, to weigh in. I will say that I'm really impressed by Sean. I really like his willingness to hop in there to make sure everybody feels comfortable. He actually gets up and cooks everybody breakfast and introduces them to Ireland. It's a type of sausage. It's pork. He's introducing them through food to the culture, and everyone is enjoying the breakfast. And basically, they've made the decision that they're going to sleep in separate. They slept in separate rooms the night before, as not to confuse his daughter Bella, because as we stated before, nobody knows they're married yet. At least not that's there with them in Ireland. Not the children, not her best friend. The only ones that knows right now is her mother and her aunt. So there's that. At this point, Sean is starting to really kind of feel heavy about the fact that he's keeping something that should be something that's wonderful from them. So he's starting to feel as if he's lying. Hence, y'all, the title of the episode, which I thought was quite clever, which was Eat, Play, Lie. And, it's kind of like a play on the movie and the book, Eat, Pray, Love. So there's some eating and some playing and some lying going on in this episode. But he does take the boys to get to know them a little better through a game of soccer. And at the same time, basically, he gets a chance to speak with our older son. And Nige, I'm going to punt over to you and let you hop in there and tell me kind of your thoughts on Joanne and Sean, what happened in episode Monday.
Yeah. So picking up where you left off, we got to see her oldest son, which I've, started getting more familiar with his name, Joey, and the younger son is Jesse. And we got to see them, showcase a little bit of their soccer skills. I think Jesse, the younger one, that kid's got he's got some moves, man.
Yeah, he
and
does.
He was showing them out. And it was a nice little bonding moment for them. You could definitely see that each of them have their own little competitive streak. So that's going to go well, hopefully in the right direction going forward. And then we got to see a little dialogue between the anticipated conversation with Joey and Sean.
Mm-hmm.
And Joey kind of came in not super, I'd say maybe passive aggressive, and just kind of was like, listen, you've been with my mom for 3 years. How have I not seen you face to face yet? This is man to man. And Sean, he downplayed it. He said, we've been trying to get over here or get over there, just kind of a little deflecting. You could kind of tell he's not being completely 100% with him. And I know Joey picked that up, but it's the fact that he still made the effort to go spend some time with them, play some soccer, and kind of just attempt to be honest. Even though he's holding a big secret from him, it is starting to weigh on Sean after having that, face-to-face meeting, getting closer with the boys. We can kind of see that it's weighing on him. I definitely like the idea that you brought up, like, the breakfast, kind of introduced him to the culture. There is one question I'm going to kick back to you. I don't know if you heard this, but in the beginning, the reason why they couldn't go to, where he was living and why he ended up renting out that nice house that they're in is because he lives with his mom. Did you catch that part?
Oh, no, I don't know how that one got by me. I did not.
So I don't have much background. I just know that's what he said leading up to it, which is why it led to them getting the nice little house that they rented out. And I was just curious, what do you think maybe the mom is the provider in this situation? Because we know he's a full-time, caretaker of his daughter, but we still don't know what he does for work. So I know that's a big question that's coming up, and I'm just kind of getting your thoughts on, is the mom the breadwinner and he's just the caretaker, or what?
You know what? Now that makes sense. I'm going to have to say yes because there is no mention from him nor from Joanne on what he does for a living at all. And even when he spoke about himself, he considers himself a full time caregiver of his daughter, who, by the way, is school age. So you got time to be doing something over there, Sean. But good point. I think that may be something that's going to come out. I know I saw on, and not to get ahead of ourselves, but we like to over here, we go couple by couple. So we do the full recap of the episode by couple. I do see that previews of next week is when they decide to go ahead and drop that information. At that point, my thoughts are that Joanne and Sean are going to be a big highlight next week, and we're going to get some of those answers. I'm really anxious to see how that goes down, how the kids take it, and yeah, get to see some more about his true living situation. And yeah, if that in case is the fact, Big Nige, good point.
Yeah, I mean, and that pretty much wraps up Joanne and Sean. Um, I mean, we can kind of go ahead and move over to James and Tata. I can
Yeah.
start with that.
Okay.
Um, so that interaction with them, it starts with James and Tata. James is sick, and Tata is performing some uh, cultural, remedy to patch him up, some kind of coin and oil massage treatment that's
Look
supposed to,
painful.
open. Yeah, it looked extremely painful. Um, and it's supposed to, like, I guess, open up your pores, and then I guess it's supposed to, like, kind of get the sickness out of you theoretically, and then you're just supposed to rest, and it's supposed to work its magic, throughout the day and maybe into the next day. So that was pretty interesting to see that. I also thought it was interesting that now James is sick in Indonesia, Tata is sick in the States, and I'm just sitting there like, it's something going on with their immune systems because it just seems like they're sick of wherever each other is from. I don't really know how to explain that.
Listen, that's very telling to me. I mean, I feel like they both suffered from homesick, or in James's, which was Tata. I mean, I do believe she has a thyroid condition. I mean, I'm not making light of that because I too actually have one. Disclaimer alert. But I feel like that he's just. I think he's just exhausted, tapped out. It's just not going like what he had hoped. I know he had his reservations, but I think that yeah, stress can put a hurting on your immune system and your body. So, uh, I mean, and from your point, yeah, she does do the Indonesian back massage, which looks extremely painful. And like you said, she leaves him to rest. We know then from there she goes to meet her sister Dicey and her little nephews, who by the way are adorable. Are they not? They are so cute. And she gets a chance to talk to her sister, and they talk a little bit about her hypothyroidism. And anyone that knows about thyroid conditions, there are two types: hyper and hypo. Hyper usually is when your metabolism, it causes your metabolism to be like really high, which is probably why Tata is so thin. But it can affect all kinds of things, and one of those, very well could be fertility. I don't know that I've ever heard of that, but it just affects so many things. Your thyroid really does. So certainly is possible. But of course, with that being stated, the big deal with James and Tata is the fact of her parents really want grandchildren, and she wants to be a mother. And James is really dragging his feet on even really giving her a strong answer on whether he even wants children. And so that is really the topic of conversation between her and her sister Dicey. And so basically, she does say that, she doesn't think he may want the kids, and that she's found out that he had confided in his friend Adele regarding this. And of course, she's upset because I don't know about you ladies, but if my husband, particularly something that big of an issue between us could confide in a female friend and not tell me, which I don't know. Let's be clear. I guess I could look at it more than one way. It's a hard topic for him to be honest about because she really does want the children and he's conflicted. But that would be a tough pill to swallow that he would go to someone else instead of talking to me. So I don't know. I can see it both ways. What do you think about that, Big Nige?
I think he definitely wanted a woman's perspective because if that question, because that question's been a point of contention for a while. I mean, he could have easily asked his friend that took him to the airport on the way. You know, he could have asked him if he really wanted another male's perspective. But I think, like you said, I think he wanted a woman's perspective. He wanted to see, okay, maybe she puts herself in her shoes and think like, I don't want kids and I'm giving you X, Y, and Z. Like, is this reason good enough? Like in your mind as a woman, I mean, Adele kind of she was on the fence. She understood where he was coming from, but
Mm-hmm.
she also wanted him to express this to Tata because
Right.
at the end of the day, she needs to be aware of this big decision that you could be making for y'all's future.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's the big thing is like one of the things that Tata was saying. She was saying like she hopes his answer will not break her heart and their relationship. And we kind of get more details when they circle back to them in the part two of this episode,
Mm-hmm.
where James is feeling a lot better. That coin massage treatment actually worked. I
Yeah,
was surprised.
I
I
know,
thought
right?
I thought he was going to be a little more sniffly, and we saw maybe he was just doing a little better, but not. He seemed completely cured. So I don't think I would do that for myself. But hey, more power
No,
to you.
right.
Um, and so then she, so then Tata again starts to reel herself back. She understands that she has to approach James in a different way than last time. She doesn't want to explode. She needs to get her point across so she can finally get the answers she so desperately coveted. Um, so they have their conversation, and James starts immediately deflecting. Now she asked him, "Why did you go to Adele with that information about saying you might not want to have kids instead of me, who is your wife?"
Mm-hmm.
And she was well in her right to ask that question.
Absolutely.
And James again just deflecting and kind of like, eh. And his answers again, I'm not a big fan of what his answers are. Like
Mm-mm.
wars are going on, a toxic world. None of those things are changing anytime soon. So unless you have another third reason, which he did allude to, which was, I don't know how I can provide for you, let alone a child.
Yeah.
And he mentioned that once you become a parent, you're a parent for life. It doesn't stop when they are just born, doesn't stop when they turn 18, 21. You're a parent for life. And you are a parent, so you very well know what he is talking about.
I definitely
Um,
do.
so I'll kind of kick it back to you. She did say that, like Tata did say that she will still love him even if they don't have kids, but I'm not sure about that. But you can weigh in on this because again, you are a mother and you know that don't ever stop. So I'm
No,
gonna keep it over to you.
yeah, no, no, definitely. Once you're a mother, parent, period. No, it's for life. And it is not something that you should do if you really don't feel like you want to be a parent because once that child comes here, listen, it's go time. I mean, you have to take care of that child from infant, really not as far as caretaking, no, once they're grown, but they're your children and you parent for the rest of your life, literally. So I understand this hesitation. Big Nige, I agree with you. This world is toxic and all that things. This world has always had plenty of evil, plenty of bad things going on. Things. It is what it is. I think that's a deflection for sure. More understandably, is his fear that he's not going to be able to provide for her, for himself, and certainly not for a child. And that I can certainly understand would be a reason to reassess and maybe not at that time. I think what's really upsetting Tata is he is so vague. It's one thing to say, let's try to get these goals accomplished, let's try to get established, and then we're going to plan to have kids and blah. But the point is, he's not committing to have kids at all. And for myself and a woman that wants to be a mother, that can definitely be a deal breaker. A major deal breaker. Those are the big things that you talk about before you say I do. You talk about, do you want to have children or don't you? Where is it that we're going to live? You have plans. But children and finances and all those things are big things, but children are a big thing. That's definitely up there. That's definitely a deal breaker. So my assumption, and it is definitely assumption, because these couples on 90 Day the Other Way certainly do have a huge issue with communicating. But I would believe that at some point Tata had made that abundantly clear that she wanted to have children. And if that is in fact the case, then James is wrong for evading that, particularly also with the fact of the knowledge that they are now in Indonesia, and he knows certainly that her parents want a grandchild. That's also putting pressure on her to provide that grandchild. Just the whole thing, it's a shame. It's a shame that they're there. I definitely see, for this couple particularly, you can see the love. They definitely love each other. I think where we see some loopholes, if you will, is in the fact that they have a problem saying what they mean, meaning what they say in a manner in which they can be receiving, because it's when they get mad and then fire off at each other, but that's not an effective way to communicate. So I don't know, Big Nige. I don't think, something's not going to fall out of the sky to say, now it's time to procreate and have kids. You either want them or you don't. So I don't have high hopes for Tata and James. I really don't.
I think it's because they both tend to hold the truth back from one another, and it gets to a boiling point where by the time you're ready to talk about it, it's too late. Somebody's already mad, somebody's already crying, somebody's already upset, and it's just both of them have a very bad problem with just withholding the truth. They want to push it off. They want to say, okay, we can push the kids' conversation off until we are completely established, completely settled. But you're supposed to have these conversations early. And again, James is really big on over promising and under delivering. Because again, before they got married, she did say, I want kids. And that's part of the reason why they got together, was like, obviously he wasn't going to give her a kid right then and there, but with time, that was the promise. And again, he promised one thing, and then here it comes, he under delivers, and now he's getting cold feet, and now he's not sure, and he can't give her a reason. That's the biggest thing, is even if you were to say no, give her a reason why you do not want to have a kid. Don't give her no cop out answer about toxic world and all that nonsense, because that's not a real answer. And I'm surprised she didn't blow up on him then, because if you can't give me a bona fide reason why you don't want kids, what are we doing here? Because you clearly can tell she really, really wants to have a kid.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that James is continuing to have cold feet.
I agree. Like I said, we're just going to have to keep tuning in, y'all, and see how it plays out. But his hesitation, his lack of the ability to even effectively explain why he truly doesn't want children, or even that he truly doesn't. It's like he's playing it on both sides. Not now, or, well, reconsider, because it just, I don't know. I personally don't think he wants to have kids with her. So I think that he's going to put it off as much as he can. I think that, of course, it's going to keep coming up because her parents desperately want that grandchild, and they are not going to stop asking. And so, therefore, he's going to have to put up or shut up. And maybe he will give her the child that, she so desires. But, it would be certainly better if they were both on the same page. So we are going to now move along to Shekinah and Sarper. And y'all, for the past 2 episodes, they've been kind of going through it. They had their big fight on the night that they were celebrating their birthdays. Really seems like it was silly, but, the bigger issue between the two of them, honestly, was that Sarper was really battling some stress that he's feeling behind the decision to pursue the K-1 visa process and him going to join Shekinah in the United States, vice the initial plan, which was for Shekinah to come to Turkey. So I think, he doesn't seem like he's a man that's truly in touch with how to properly convey what he's feeling. And so hence you had the deflective, oh, well, I think he truly did want to buy her a birthday present, which because she had a birthday present waiting for him. But the bigger issue was he really was conflicted behind the heartbreaking reaction he got from his family when they did make the announcement that he was going to be going to the United States. So we do have that background. And so on Monday night, oh, and by the way, because of the fight, Shekinah, of course, left his apartment and had gone to a hotel to have some time apart and to really think. And so she opens up with reflecting on everything that's gone on. Just as I said last week, guys, she agrees to meet with Sarper. And I told you, you would not have seen the last of Shekinah and Sarper. I know everyone was saying, oh, no, this time, no. Even with the, explosive fight, no. She's had enough time now, and she does want to talk to him. And so they meet at a cafe. And what she's really wanting Sarper to do is work on managing his anger and letting go of his need for control. And I'm not going to say, because I think that's a big thing with the fact that and I'm going to get into it because there's not a whole lot left as far as the meat of the episode, but I did want to talk a little bit about when she said the need for control. Even y'all, to me, and Big Nige, I'm gonna let you weigh in, the fight with him saying he wanted to buy the vanity for her and her saying, no, I really don't want that one, don't spend your money. That it was, and I said this, it was either last week before, where he has an issue with ego and being the man and the control of, well, no, I'm going to buy you this. I want you to have this. Because it'll make me feel good. It'll make me feel like I'm doing something. It was, to me, what was behind his desperate push on buying the vanity, because it's kind of silly. If she didn't like it, what does it matter? Get her something else later, whatever. But it's deeper than that. Some would say it's the cultural thing, and that is part of it. But also with him, period, we also found out about his childhood and his feelings of inadequacy because he's a chubby little child that, got picked on. And now he's this bodybuilder, into fitness. His body looks great. He's really, really meticulous about his appearance. And so with all of that, there's a level of control, right? To make sure you stay looking a certain way. And then you want your woman to be a certain way and it to go a certain way. So I got that concern for her, because even when and if he does come to the United States, her life is going to be very, very different if they don't work through some of those things. So, but neither here nor there. She kind of still loves her man. And they definitely go ahead and meet. And when she sits down with him, y'all, out of all this stuff, first thing that he asks her is, how's the dog Adonis? Really, Sarper? That's all you got? Which is, again, y'all, another screaming show of the fact that the man's just not in tune with his emotions like that. He doesn't know how to properly convey his emotions. And so, but she brings him back and she's not having it. She's like, we are not about to be doing all this little small talking stuff. And she said that she really didn't feel sorry for him, and she's not going to hold back about how serious what happened was to her and how she was really concerned about his aggressive behavior and the fact that she needs it to change. And she's also said that she sees his angry side, and every time she sees it, it changes how she actually sees him. And that also taps into her emotions and her feelings toward him. And so basically she's saying, look, every time that angry Sarper comes out, I see you in a different way. And with that, my feelings for you are dying a little bit every time angry Sarper comes out. So, Big Nige, I'm going to let you pop in here and pick up where I've left off. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, so you pretty much hit all the major points. Um, I definitely think I want to applaud her for this. I want to applaud Shekinah for this episode. She finally put her foot down. She finally wanted to ask the right questions and demanded answers. Wasn't going to let him tap dance his way out of this one or sweet talk his way out. He messed up, and it's time for him to be held accountable.
Mm-hmm.
And she definitely did that.
Yeah.
It was funny that Sarper wanted to lead with, "I want you to feel bad for me. Like I'm not getting any sleep. I'm constantly thinking about you and all that." And she's like, "Man, I'm not listening to it. You're the one that messed up. You're the one that caused this. The lack of control of your emotions is what led to all of this." Right. And you hit that big point about control, because control has been a big thing for him. He wants to control everything about this relationship, where they live, where they go, you know, even the vanities that they buy. He wants that control. It's like a pride thing. I'm a stubborn man as well. So I know you want things your way or the highway, and I get it. But you got to be able to acknowledge when you made a mistake. You just have to. And he was starting to come around to it as the conversation continued, as she kind of kept ripping into him and letting him
She
know,
did.
like, you know, you say you love me, and
Mm-hmm.
it's you're not giving the energy that you need. Like, I need to see actions. You tell me you
Mm-hmm.
love me more than yourself, prove it. You know,
Right.
talk is cheap. So um, she also said that she has unconditional love for him, but that doesn't mean unconditional tolerance. And I thought that was big.
That was deep, right? That was a bar, y'all. That was
Honestly, yeah, because it just resonated, especially
yeah.
with their relationship in its totality. She's been giving him passes, slick
Yeah.
things he said, not following through with his promises, just like James, over promising and under delivering. It just
Mm-hmm.
seems to be a very big theme with the men of this season.
Big time.
A lot of broken promises.
Yeah.
And so she did mention the idea of therapy. He needs to get his anger under control. You know, I don't know if you can just tell somebody they have to go to therapy. I think it's more of a conversation, and they come to that realization of, I will get therapy. But it's nothing wrong with throwing the suggestion out there. But she
Not for
kind of
me.
ordered him, like a court mandate order. You're going to therapy, or this relationship isn't going to work. I thought that was kind of funny. Um, but that pretty much wraps it up. I know he was overwhelmed with upsetting his family in the K1
Yeah.
visa process, but again, it's no excuse for not keeping a lid on your emotions, and
Exactly.
you know not communicating your feelings.
Right. I agree. I mean, um, Sarper is who Sarper is, right? But I got a chance to, yeah, sit on the sideline and really applaud Shekinah, because she wasn't having it. And, everybody before, made fun of her, letting him sweet talk her and, deer in headlights look and the Kardashian voice that she so eloquently uses. But she kind of has a backbone, and she did that. So if there is going to be a future between her and Sarper, that's kind of how she's going to have to handle that. I mean, really. I mean, y'all weigh in the comments and let me know if you disagree. But a man like that, got to put your foot down, or else you get what you get. So good look, Shikana. I was here for it. So now, guys, we'll talk about our last couple. I say this every week. They were my fave. They're falling apart before my eyeballs. I don't know what I'm watching this season, y'all. Yeah. So we're going to get into Statler and Dempsey. I'll kick it off, and then I'm going to pass it over to you, Big Nige. But it opens up with Dempsey crying. And she's still upset from, I guess we'll say, argument. It was really more of Statler unloading how she was feeling about, Dempsey not letting her know that she had money and kind of keeping that from her, and what had happened to her in the past about how she was the one that was the big giver with little in return, and her fears. But Dempsey's crying because she just feels like, first of all, like, where is this coming from? And feeling like, her partner doesn't trust her. And that's not a good feeling. It's not. Particularly when you are living in this small space. I mean, they live in a van, for God's sakes. And you can't get away from each other in this little tiny van. And Statler's hitting her with some heavy stuff, and Dempsey's like, "This is not how this was supposed to go. We're supposed to be happy and driving through the countryside and exploring and living like new adventures every day. Well, it's not going that way." So, um, but when she sees the tears, Statler, is sorry. They make up. They say they love each other, and she keeps talking to Dempsey about kind of understanding that these things are the things that kind of just really send her anxiety into kicks it up, and she's trying to really give her an insight. And let me just say this before I get further on into it. If anybody out there that has anxiety, and I'm sitting there watching Statler, I see the signs. I mean, the darting eyes, you can see it in her body language when she's sitting in the van. I don't know if y'all notice, and I still can't figure this van out, because it's always like Dempsey's driving and Statler's like this little thing. I mean, I guess it sits back a little bit, child. That's just me, the things that I hone in on are kind of crazy. But at least what I will say, this season I have seen Statler not really relaxed at all, pretty much, until after they sort of make up. Dempsey wants to let Statler know that she has a big surprise for her, and that is they are going to go to a beekeeper, and apparently Statler loves bees, and it's a very, very, very sweet gesture. I mean, like I said, I find Dempsey to be the sweet, free spirit. She kind of threw me for a loop, though, with the whole stash of money from the car that she didn't mention. But I'm not mad, Dempsey, honey. I'm always like, you got to keep your little stash for a rainy day. So I'm not mad at that. But it certainly did not help your defense with Statler's argument over there. So I'm going to say that. But at any rate, yes. So Dempsey, on their journey, has decided to stop by and has arranged for them to go see a beekeeper and play with the bees. And Statler, being Statler, says how unbelievable of a day it was. I'll kick it on over to you, Big Nige, to drive home the remainder of what happened between Statler and Dempsey after they're currently at the beekeeper, and now you have it, Big Nige.
So coming from the beekeeper, it was a very wholesome, experience. Statler talks about how much she loves bees, favorite insects, and all that good stuff. Right. It ended on a very good note for part one. Unfortunately, there was a second part,
Yes.
I'm still looking at Dempsey a little differently, because this whole boat ride to Europe, like through Europe, they've been like kind of pushing off that conversation about it for obvious reasons, because Statler has this big thing where she had a terrible experience when she was on a boat, which led to her not having a good night. I'm not going to ruin y'all's lunch with the fine details, but she did not have a good time on that boat. And so, knowing that, Dempsey tells her, like, yeah, it's a 30-minute boat ride to where we're getting to. Now, one thing about people, especially myself, like, I'm not the biggest fan of flying. Like, if somebody tells me that my flight's only an hour, okay, that's fine, all right. But then you lie and say, oh, instead of it being an hour, oh, it's a 3-hour flight.
Yeah.
That's already going to put me on edge already. Right. In the case of Dempsey and Statler, she said it was going to be a 30-minute nice boat ride. Turned out to be 100. That's over an hour. And like, I'm just like, come on, Dempsey. Like, I'm trying to root for you, girl, but you can't do that to someone who's as anxious as Statler. Like, you have to lay it out for her. Like, you should know this. She's been voicing her opinion, telling you she needs structure. You are free-spirited, but surely you can keep it honest with her and tell her your trip is going to be 100 minutes, not 30. Like, don't do that to that girl.
Right.
So with that, now this is already causing tension. They get on the boat and holy pandemonium drops. Statler is clearly on edge. She's anxious. She's nervous. She's in the shutdown mode. She doesn't really want to be talked to. But Dempsey is going full mama bear mode, asking a whole bunch of extra questions, saying, "Are you okay? Do you need this? Do you need that? Maybe you're not feeling good. Maybe let's go outside and get some fresh air. Let's go stand this way. Let's look this way." And Statler's like, "Listen, like I just want to look at the horizon. I need to look this way. I need to stand this way. I don't like boats. You know about this. I've sent you articles of how to deal with somebody who's going through a panic attack. And again, you are just completely disregarding those articles that I sent you. You're not paying attention to the signs that I warned you about. I'm in panic mode and I need some space." But Dempsey does not see that, and she's like, "I want to be here for you. I want to be, your partner. I want to have a good time with you." And again, these are just completely different perspectives on a situation that's happening right before our eyes. And and now that makes Dempsey upset because Statler's being rude to her because he doesn't want to be bothered. Statler feels uneasy because Dempsey is continuing to push and push and push. And Statler's like, "Man, listen, I need my space." And you know, that's pretty much where things left off on them. We
Mhm.
see kind of walking out. She leaves Statler outside by herself
Yeah.
and just I'm pretty much done with this.
Yeah.
And I'll kick it back to you. It was a very sad way to see the episode end,
Hmm.
especially considering how it started so great with the beekeeping experience. So, what were your thoughts on the second part of Dempsey and Statler's episode?
My parts on the second part was it was twofold. Number one, I felt bad actually for them both. I think that for Statler, I have to give her a lot of credit for trying her best to help Dempsey to understand anxiety and what she's going through. And in most of the conversations that they've had since I know the last couple of episodes, she's given her history, the things that have happened to her, and Dempsey just keeps dropping the ball. I mean, we all get that, like Big Nige said, she's a free spirited, kind of fly by the seat of your pants type of gal. But when your partner expresses what they need, a good partner listens and tries to, to comply. And I mean, she will do things like, it was like a peace offering with the visit to the beekeeper. But that's short lived, and that's not, it doesn't really show that she's tapped into the issue. They had a fun time, of course. But real life is real life. And where Dempsey struggles is, quite frankly, she just doesn't understand anxiety. She just doesn't understand how Statler just can't snap out of it and enjoy the moment. That is just not how Statler is wired. And guys, I would love to see your comments on. I mean, I know personally, I have anxiety, so like I said, watching Statler, particularly, talking about the boat and then being on it. I mean, yeah, it's real, y'all. It's a crippling feeling, and particularly when you have a panic attack. And she's right. The one thing that you definitely need is not someone hovering, but you really need your space. I do not think that, and you see Dempsey walk away like Big Nige says, and she just seems so defeated. And that's where I felt bad for her. She just doesn't understand, because if you don't suffer from it, unless you truly educate yourself or, really tap in and are really, you know, in tune with what's going on with your partner or with whomever, your loved one, or whomever struggles with it, you're not going to understand. You've got to want to. And I just think that Dempsey is kind of looking at things through almost like a childlike view. And, you know, we're going to have to keep watching them. Like I said, I'm pulling for them. Certainly, when I started the season, I told you guys they were my favorite couple out of the lineup. They still are. It's just I'm seeing different sides of them. And, I hate to see it crumbling before my eyes. But I don't know. We'll just have to keep watching and see how things play out. So, y'all, that was pretty much the episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will be back per usual next Wednesday, same time, same place. Come on back over and talk all things 90 Day Fiancé the other way. And I'm going to ask you to also come on back on Saturday, where we're going to have another segment with my host, Bria, on Pop Culture Saturday. We're going to have a great lineup for you, so you're not going to want to miss that. And Big Nige, even though we gave a precursor of what you will see, if you go visit him and CW over at the Goatcast Podcast YouTube channel, but I'm going to always let him plug the channel before we close out. So I'm going to let Big Nige introduce that to you guys one more time.
So, like I said earlier, obviously I'm the co-host of the Goatcast podcast with my other co-host CW. We talk a lot of basketball topics, past, present, future. Definitely don't want to miss our last live. It was chaotic, it was hectic, it was even educational. It was all these different things and a bunch more. But you won't know until you go click on that video and give yourself a nice helping of that great podcast.
I agree.
Outside of that, I appreciate being on the channel. I appreciate any support, any likes, any comments, any subscriptions that you so graciously offering. And until next time, y'all.
All right. Well, there you have it, guys. All right. With that, we're going to bid you guys good night. Come back and see us again. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.
Bye.